Okay, so I thought I would show how I apply the wax to a gouache painting. Some folks have asked about that. So I'm using Jacquard Dorland's wax medium, and I've been very pleased with it so far. I've just done a few pieces with it. I use a lint-free cloth that you might use like to clean windows, and you just dab a little bit of that wax on there. You don't have to be like too particular or fussy about it because you're just going to kind of work in circular motions around the piece. And it's really just as simple as that. It doesn't take very long at all. And you can, run your finger over it and kind of feel a little bit of the waxy surface. That it's a slight waxiness that's left, and that will go away. Now you can notice I've done this corner a little bit before I turn the video on, and now I'm working up here. And here you can see a little bit, it does darken things a little bit. And gouache is already kind of tricky with that, like the light colors will dry darker, the dark colors will sometimes dry lighter, it's just a little different than other painting mediums with that. But what the wax also does is it will pull back out some of the contrast that you see when you're actually painting wet with the gouache, which is kind of nice. I kind of like that. And then what this does is it allows the piece to be protected. You could actually have a gouache on panel that's been sealed with wax like this. And you're just kind of buffing it really. Like once you put just, again, a little bit on there at a time, just make your way over the whole piece. It's a real subtle shift in the saturation and contrast that it helps make pop. But again, I like it, enjoy it. I think it's real pretty. And now, this is hard to illustrate on the video, but for instance, there's a little bit of some streakiness here that it's unclear to me there. I was wondering if it was brush strokes from before, but it's not. It's just the wax. And so that's what I mean. Like I'll put like a layer over it, and then I'll come back through with my cloth on a dry section and kind of buff it. And so you use even less of this wax than you think than you would think. And one of the questions might be, well, does it pick up the gouache? Well, these are the spots on the rag that I've been doing, and the answer is no. Because I would have picked up some of that blue or that purple as well. It does not, because you're not putting a lot of pressure. It's not as fluid as water would be, which would pick up the gouache for sure. You're just working over the surface. So that is what I know. I'm really excited. My plan is to, this year, hopefully sooner than later, I'm going to start doing some pieces on panel and then using some of this Dorland's wax to seal those pieces to finish them. And having a bright light helps, at least it helps me to see if I've missed any spots. I kind of just try to make my way around. And again, you can kind of feel that with your finger too as you're going along. Clean hands, of course, right? And then, yeah, that bright light will help you see some of that too. You can pick up tiny little dust particles and hairs. If that's something in your environment, just be aware of. Ooh, I can feel this corner needs a little. There we go. And now I'm going to just kind of come back over it and kind of buff out some of those places. And so I will always love acrylic, but as I'm moving toward more gouache works, it's just an eco-friendlier paint, and that makes me feel really good. So I want to use less acrylic in my work. I just love gouache, and just, I don't know, it's like egg tempera, It's been around a long time, longer than acrylic, and I love that it's kind of has this lineage in the painting story, through time, and the fragility of, like, if you were to say receive a gift from someone way back when, some centuries ago, that was like egg tempera or like a gouache style paint on a wood panel, would it be sealed with like a beeswax? And so it's protected, but even in that, it still feels like the art is something precious, that needs to be cared for, maybe have a special place in the home or what have you. Those are things I think about anyway. So that is how you would use the Jacquard Dorland's wax medium to seal up a gouache or even a watercolor painting, perhaps. Very, very simple. Took hardly any time at all, 5 minutes. And it has a nice seal to it. And I think it's buffed pretty good. One final thing I'll add, I mentioned working very lightly as you do it. You can actually like wipe almost all the wax back off, which is not really what you want to do. So you do want to make sure there's a slight sheen, and again, either you can feel it or you can just kind of see that it's covered the whole surface. And you can seal your gouache and watercolors well, like you would with watercolor. You can use like a fixative, like a spray fixative, and I've done that in the past and been pleased with it. But also, it can also change the piece, and as you're close to the piece, it can create sort of a granular sort of look at times. And I just like this better. I like it better. It stays like with that painterly brush thing without adding some of that kind of granular look that you can get with some fixatives on certain mediums too.